Hey, I'm back at the comic shop, and I'm reviewing Batman Vengeance on the Game Boy Advance. Now, if you've been watching the show for a bit, you know that I'm a huge Batman fan. And you also know that I haven't been too fond of too many Batman games that I've played recently. This one's from Ubisoft, and it takes place in the world of the Batman animated series, so I like the look of it immediately. They've got screens in the game that look like they've been taken right out of the PS2 intros, which is kind of cool. All these rendered scenes with Robin and Batgirl. Of course, there's all kinds of bad guys like the Joker and Mr. Freeze. But the problem with the game is, when I plugged it in, I couldn't tell for sure if I was playing a Game Boy Color game or a Game Boy Advance game. I also thought that the boss attacks that are in the game are extremely cheap and very, very hard to make out because the characters are so small, you can't really tell what's going on. I didn't like the fact that they've used Alfred as a sort of guide through the game, like he's explaining to the Dark Knight how he should do his moves. I want a lot more out of my 32-bit Game Boy Advance. 4 out of 10. Not good enough. Reviews on the Run is brought to you by Microplay. So here we are in a BMX shop, because we're going to talk about a couple of BMX games. Let's talk about Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX 2 for the PlayStation 2.
Here's a game where the levels are huge.
Enormous. The environments are very cool, and that's one of the reasons why I enjoyed this game, was the fact that we've got, you know, a lakeside environment where you can race into the water. We've got a camp where you can go up into these cabin areas. And there's also a city environment. Lots of things to do tricks off of. There are plenty of tricks in this game.
The thing that bugged me, though, is that the physics in the game weren't exactly, how shall we say...
They're a little generous.
So, you know, you play a great game like Tony Hawk Skateboarding, and you have time to think about what you're doing and everything, but a lot of times the BMX games, they're so quick and they're so fast that you really have to get your timing different.
I think they've done a pretty good job at it, but there's things like almost like magnetic rail grinds and stuff like that, where you just approach a rail and all of a sudden you'll be instantly snapped to it. But then you can do some things that are not realistic but insanely fun, like, you know, 360 Supermans and you know, crazy stunts and stuff that no sane person would ever think of attempting. I think if you're a big BMX fan, you're going to enjoy this game, but you're going to see its limitations.
I give it a 6.5.
I liked it a bit more than that. I gave it a 7. EGM gave it an average score of 8. Let's talk about Matt Hoffman Pro BMX for the Dreamcast.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, this game is very similar to
Dave Mirra. Yes, it is.
It's really similar.
Yeah.
And let's face it, this is the Tony Hawk engine. This is exactly Tony Hawk game, except
you have a bike.
You have a bike, as far as the way you play the game. Right. But again, I think it falls short
on the physics.
In the physics and the controls, because that was a great thing about Tony Hawk, is you really felt good the first time you pick up a controller. You really feel good about the way the skateboard and everything moves. With this game, it's kind of the opposite. You're always kind of struggling to figure out how to get the bike to move around and do tricks.
The physics are a bit better and a little bit tighter than Dave Mirra because they're using the Tony Hawk engine, I presume. You do feel a little bit more connection to the bike as it's flying through the air and you're pulling off the stunts. They have lots of cool interactive bits and secret doors and levels and stuff like that will open up for you if you access new things. I like all that stuff, but they're just not as engrossing, I think, as the ones in Dave Mirra 2 are for the PlayStation 2.
Right.
I would give this a 7.5 on the Dreamcast. If you have a choice, I'd pick up Matt Hoffman over Dave Mirra 2.
Again, for me, it's all about control and physics, and in an extreme sports game like that, that's got to be the most important thing. So I give it a 6.5.
EGM gave it an average score of 7.5. All right, let's switch over to the PlayStation 1, talk about X-Men Mutant Academy 2. What'd you think of this one?
If you're into like Street Fighter and Tekken and games like that, it's kind of like a combination of the two, more leaning towards your Street Fighter action.
Yeah, and the fact that they've got a licensed game that has gameplay that mirrors those kinds of gameplay experiences is very, very cool. And if you're an X-Men fan, you're going to freak out. The characters in this game have been faithfully recreated. Wolverine's got those awesome claw swipes.
Street Fighter's 10 years old now, you know?
Yeah,
and so
I'm
show me something a little different. I'm getting tired of this same old thing. I didn't feel like just the Matrix cam thing was enough. Let's face it, your thumb hurts.
Your thumb hurts, but that's fighting games.
Like
fighting games do that. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you're just improving on a formula, I agree, but there's never been a good X-Men fighting game until now. I think it's one of the best PlayStation 1 fighting games out there, and I would highly recommend it.
Not better than Tekken.
I don't like it better than Tekken, but it's a 9 out of 10.
I give it a 7.
EGM gave it an average score of 5.
Did you like my dinosaur head
I
helmet,
do.
by the way?
Yeah, it suits you.
It's pretty cool, huh?
It's very cool.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about my favorite game of the week,
Yes.
Spy Hunter for the PlayStation 2.
So this is one of my all-time favorite arcade games.
Yeah.
If you remember from way back when.
Yep.
The overhead view, Spy
Very cool
Hunter.
arcade game.
One thing I can't figure out, why is it called Spy Hunter? You're the spy. It should be called Spy Hunted.
Yes, because they're hunting you.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you're going to pick an 80s arcade game for an update in 2001, what better game than Spy Hunter? Because when the original Spy Hunter came out, you were so far removed from the action. And you would imagine how cool it would be to actually be behind the wheel and experience all of that. And in this game, you get that.
Not only do you have a car, though, but once you go into the boat, it does this cool matrix cam 360 turnaround as it turns into a boat. Now you're on water. Then you can turn into a motorcycle if you want. The motorcycle can even go on water, too. You got missiles, you have machine guns, you have smoke screens, you have oil slicks. The controls are extremely easy to get into.
Right, it's designed by the guys at Paradigm who did Beetle Adventure Racing for N64. They did Pilot Wings for N64. They did the F1 game. Those guys know physics, they know accurate vehicle physics modeling, and they've done a very good job. This is a very easy game to jump into, but there's a lot of objectives that you have to meet to keep going through the game, and a lot of them are very challenging. Spy Hunter rocks on PlayStation 2. It's one of my favorite games of the year, 10 out of 10. I love this thing. I couldn't imagine how they could have made this better.
9.5. Great game. Gotta pick it up.
Definitely check it out.
EGM gave it an average score of 8.
So I'm thinking I'd like to see you do a triple backwards Abubakar into a half twist Fufanu. What do you think?
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Back up.
Okay.
Give me some room.
Go.
What exactly is that move again?
It's a triple backwards Abubakar.
Abubakar.
With a half twist Fufanu.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay. Weren't those a couple of bounty hunters in The Empire Strikes Back standing next to Boba Fett?
Here's a recap on our reviews, including scores from Electronic Gaming Monthly. Visit our website at www.electplay.com, or if you're mobile, wap.electplay.com.
Well, unfortunately, we've run out of time.
We'll be back soon, though, with more cool video game stories on the Electric Playground.
See you next time.
Production assistance for Electric Playground is provided by Microplay. You can purchase any of the games featured in Electric Playground at a Microplay location near you. And by NVIDIA. Electric Playground only uses NVIDIA, the ultimate graphics cards.
The summoner guy, I forgot his name, but like Seymour, and let's see, there's Master Mika, there's Braska, and let's see, what else we got? Braska, and can't forget Kimari, because, yeah, Kimari's really big. Yeah, Kimari was the one I forgot.